majestic mountains, geysers, raging waterfalls, volcanic activity, boiling mud, wildlife. Iceland has something for everybody and is truly beautiful. Min and I traveled to Iceland and we were blown away at the beauty and the remoteness of some of these regions of Iceland that we were fortunate to visit. We also learned a lot along the way, and we are here to share with you some of our top tips when you travel and visit the beautiful country of Iceland. We are Dennis and Min. Come join us on our traveling adventures around the world. Welcome to the channel, and we are happy to share with you our experience in Iceland. As always, please like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and drop us a comment and let us know if you've been to Iceland, what your experience was like. So Min and I actually took a cruise around the island, and we made various stops at several ports around the country of Iceland. And also, several of these ports, we rented a car while we were there, which was a great way to see the countryside. And if you yourself are going to be going to Iceland, and if you're going to be driving or renting a car, be sure to check out our video on driving in Iceland. And we will go ahead and drop a link in the description for you for that. So starting off our trip to Iceland, our first port that we arrived at was Akureyri. And we have a wonderful time at that little port. It's a small city of about 20,000 people. All right, so we're gonna get into our first tip, and that is when you go to Iceland, there are many places where you can go to these geothermal pools. They're basically hot springs, natural hot springs, and the most famous that you might have heard of before is Blue Lagoon. Now, some of these are public swimming pools that are geothermal. They're heated and very comfortable and warm and perhaps therapeutic. And I think you can go ahead and spend about $10 US for the day for a pass to go to a public swimming pool. And if you go to a very touristy place like the Blue Lagoon, I've heard you can pay as much as $170 US to swim in that Blue Lagoon pool. Min and I were on a budget, so we, with the help of some friends, found a off the beaten path geothermal pool. It was basically this natural hot tub, and it was amazing with beautiful views of the ocean and of our cruise ship. And this was all right in the near the town of Akureyri. And so these are some images of where we found this little spot. You can go online and find it just the same, but it's right off the road leading into the small town there. And so we had a wonderful time. You can park your car, and it's just a short walk to this little out of the way spot. But when you get there, wow, it is amazing. And you might think the water must be freezing. Nope, it is like bath water. It is warm and comfortable and very relaxing. And the number 2 tip is you gotta check out, if you go to Akureyri, the nearest huge waterfall of Godafoss. Godafoss waterfall was a spectacular sight. And so we went there with these friends that we had met on our cruise ship. And so I mentioned this in our Driving in Iceland video, in that if you find some people that want to share in the cost of the rental car, because rental cars can be fairly pricey there, that kind of helps bring the cost down per person. But we had a wonderful time traveling around with them, and it was a great treat to be able to share this adventure in Iceland with others from our cruise ship. And keep in mind that you also have the flexibility and freedom when you rent a car. So later on in this video, I'm going to share with you some details of a guided tour that we had taken on a coach bus in the southern part outside of Reykjavik in Iceland. And so that was a great experience, but there's also some benefits to renting a car in Iceland. And tip number 3, gnat protection. Now, you don't hear about this too much, but in Iceland, especially in the northern part where we were in the summertime, there are gnats, large gnats. And they don't bite, and they don't really, I don't think they can really hurt you, but they are just so annoying. They are so bothersome that it can make your time outside really miserable really quick. Now, they're not always present, but just depending upon where you are, they can just come out and they can just be, you'll be in a cloud of gnats, and they're big. And yeah, it's really not pleasant. So one thing I noticed some people had are these hats with like these screens around, like almost like something you'd see a beekeeper wearing, where they're totally protected, their head, their face is protected. And so you might want to consider a tip in getting something like that to protect you from these many gnats. And tip number 4, when you are in Akureyri, there is a prominent church there. It's a Lutheran church that really stands out among the other buildings there in the city. And that is something worth checking out. It's very beautiful inside. And we didn't spend a lot of time in the actual city of Akureyri because with this rental car, we were traveling all around and taking in these beautiful sights. And the scenery is just as if you were a Viking explorer from Norway that first set eyes on this land, because it really is so rural and you don't see a lot of buildings, much less people, much less other cars on the road. So it's really amazing to be able to see a place that looks just like it did when it was first created many, 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 many eons ago. All right, and the next port we went to on our cruise ship was Ísafjörður, a small town of about 2,600 people. And it is there that we also rented a car for the day. And when you are there, tip number 1 in Ísafjörður is to head to the Dynjandi waterfall. Wow, it is amazing scenery, and the drive there and back is absolutely scenic and stunning. So if you were to drive straight from Ísafjörður to Dynjandi waterfall, it's about a 50-minute drive. But do note that if you make some stops along the way for pictures and video, you are probably going to be spending a little bit more time each way. And when you are in that region of Ísafjörður, tip number 2 is also the same tip that I mentioned for Akureyri, tip number 3, and that is the gnats. Just be prepared because they're also in this area of Ísafjörður. Be prepared for a lot of gnats. We also had a little picnic with our friends and outside, but that didn't last too long. The gnats were they just were all over us. So just be prepared for that. Tip number 3, when you go to the Dynjandi waterfall, they have some very, very excited birds. I don't know what kind of birds they are, but you have to be careful. They almost were in attack mode on occasion, and I could only imagine they might have had some nest very, very close by to where we were walking, which was on the path. But I can only imagine they were protecting their young. Just be careful of the birds when you are there at the Dynjandi waterfall. our third stop in Iceland was Grundafjordur. And I'm probably murdering the pronunciations of these names. They're Icelandic names, so please forgive me if you're from Iceland. It's a population of about 900 people, very, very small town. We just pretty much stayed in and around that, the town itself. Very charming, very scenic. And on day 4 of our Iceland tour, we took in the sights in and around Reykjavik. Now, Reykjavik is a population of about 142,000 people. And we went ahead and took a 7-hour bus tour around what's called the Golden Circle, where it makes stops at these very important sites and tourist destinations along the way. And it basically makes a circle around the exterior of the city of Reykjavik back to the city itself. Now, since this video was made, there's been some volcanic activity in that region. So before you plan your trip, please make sure you look ahead to see if there's going to be any disruption to tourist activities in that part of Iceland. So tip number 1 is going to the Thingvellir National Park, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And this is where Iceland's democracy began. They have a drowning pool and a gallows rock, so you can only imagine what kind of stuff went on there. But Iceland was first settled in the 9th century by the Vikings from Norway. And they set up this democracy over time. And what's also really cool about this particular national park is it's also where the tectonic plates merge of the North American plate and the European plate come together at this exact location. And it is really something to behold. And it's obviously still moving a little bit every day, every week, every month. These plates are splitting apart. So that would be tip number 1, the Thingvellir National Park. Tip number 2 would be going to see the geysers. Woo, what a spectacle. And as you know, there's lots and lots of volcanic activity in Iceland. You've got boiling mud pits, you've got steam vents. Lots of volcanic activity surrounding this region of Iceland. Tip number 3 is the Gullfoss waterfall. What a spectacle. So this was a very scenic site. They've got an amazing lookout, and nearby there's a cafeteria where you can get a beer, and they're also known for their lamb stew. And what's also nice about this coach bus tour is tip number 4, they were able to stop by some real live Icelandic horses for us to pet. I'm a little bit allergic myself, so I didn't get too close, but you can actually feed them a little, whatever is laying around. And yeah, so it was very cool because these horses are a rare breed indeed, in that they are the purest form of horse that you will find anywhere in the world, because they do not allow any other horses to breed there in Iceland. So this is the same breed of horses that has been there for the last 1,000 plus years. So thanks for joining us on this segment of Iceland, and we hope you are in a position to make a trip there if you haven't been yourself. And we thank you so much for watching and subscribing and liking this content, and we look forward to seeing you again.